Seventh West down on this list of recommendations for initial studies.
So,
Because we had a couple of students hit on that.
yeah, so we've done a lot of improvements on 7th West.
Right,
And
you have,
yes.
yes, you have, and the crosswalk ladies
Yes.
are very, very thankful for that.
So we've done, I'd say, 3 traffic studies there now.
3 or 4 traffic studies.
Yeah.
We've added passive measures.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, it is a major arterial. It gets a lot of traffic.
Yep.
And I know sometimes it seems like speeds are pretty fast, but it is posted at 35. And
Yes.
So I have cars that go 37, 38.
Yep, right,
That's sort of the norm, and
Yeah.
generally that's,
Yeah.
that's what we're getting when we've done the speed studies there. So that doesn't jump out at us as really, a location where we would be looking at active measures. It's more of the passive measures that we've already installed there,
yes,
and they seem to be working, fairly well
especially the
with
new
our-
cross
Yeah, we've added,
lights for the for the junior high,
Reduced
yes,
speed, school crossing. We've added the really large format
yeah,
radar signs, which have been fairly effective.
yes,
Our after studies actually showed that those were being fairly effective. And again, it seems like people are going fast, but in reality, they're probably only going
Yeah.
a few miles per hour over.
yeah,
I think where we see the bigger issues are where we're posted 25 and we've got cars going 35.
Yeah.
That's where we start to get
Yeah.
concerned. But on 7th West, posted 35, they're
Right.
going 38, and I think 85% of
Yes.
speed on that road is 38. It doesn't jump out at us as really needing to throw a lot more on there than what we've already done.
Yes, I agree.
59th is gonna kind of weigh out the same way Vine Street. Again, because there's more volume there, it seems like there's a bigger
Right.
problem, but in reality,
right.
those are the ones we would address more with the passive measures.
And when school's
Fully on-
out for
fully
the
on
summer,
725 East, Atwood, Green Oaks,
yes,
those are, we hear about those all the time, almost weekly. And those are gonna be the ones that I think initially, we're gonna make that effort to place some temporary measures. The traffic circles are one thing we're really interested in. Race crosswalk we're interested in. Those are the things that we're gonna kind of test this summer on 725 East and gather data and really get an idea of what works before we start branching out and placing these things everywhere.
okay,
We've got enough temporary measures that will be delivered next week. If we can try to get those out this spring on 725 and just sort of see how they work. At that point, we'll come back and ask for money for permanent or more temporary measures to start installing them around the city.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of 725 is kind of the test run.
That's where I got my ticket.
We may do some applications and we may be doing some studies in the
It's a
meantime.
great place to
did.
go.
That's,
that was about 8 years ago, so,
we may have enough
Yep.
extra to look at Bullion, but it wouldn't be all the way along. Bullion's a really long road, so if we do something on Bullion, it may be isolated somewhere around
800 West,
somewhere there.
okay,
Might be a good spot for a raised crosswalk, but again, we've got a driveway there, there's some things that we have to look at there. You know,
True,
Raised crosswalk
yes.
in the middle of somebody's driveway, a little
True.
awkward. So,
yep,
everything is, there's not a one size fits all.
Right.
I think that's part of this manual, kind of establishes that certain roads, things are gonna work, and those things aren't gonna work on other roads.
Yes.
There are roads we get really good results with the radar speed signs, and
Yes.
there's roads that people just sort of put the blinders on and don't even pay attention. So, one size fits all doesn't work here.
Yep.
We're probably gonna come up with other ideas as this thing moves forward.
okay,
But again, I think what's key is it's gonna be data-driven, and we're gonna try to be consistent. It's, like Jeremy and Chris have said, it's not necessarily who yells the loudest, it's where we have the problems.
exactly,
And that's where we're really gonna try to focus, is where the problems are.
Any other questions? I think our time's up, but
Thank
thank you for your time today. Thanks for the inputs. Appreciate y'all.
thank you guys, really appreciate it. Okay, our next report is on wildland fire deployment, Joey and Steve, 20 minutes. Hi.
You are? Hello. Let's see if
Hi,
that's
your
plugging in or does it take?
It should be one or the other.
But not both. Talk to me. Oh. Ooh. Sorry, I had to start out with that. Hey, welcome, Councilor Mayor. Thanks for the opportunity to present Wildland. I brought the wisest and much smarter people than me. Both you guys know Assistant Chief Steve Olson, and then also Assistant Chief Jeff Poles is in the back, just in case I totally pass out, and then he can at least kick me while I'm down or something. But anyhow, our Wildland report, we have had a busy 2024 and 2025 season. And so we've got 15 minutes prepared to do a presentation to you guys. And then we left 5 minutes at the end for you guys to ask any questions. Not that you guys can't ask questions while we go. We just want to make sure we stay on time and on task and stuff. So without further ado, I'll kick it over to Chief Olson and then have him kind of walk you through some of this stuff.
Yeah, getting us to stop talking about this is probably the hard part.
He's a nerd.
Okay, so the reason we're here, what we want to outline is wildfires kind of go in waves, and it kind of like there are trends throughout different seasons. Where in recent history, where we want to go is in 2012, there was a really bad catastrophic fire year, and Governor Herbert kind of sent out a mandate of like, hey, what are we going to do to help mitigate and prepare better for these throughout the state so that we don't have, as bad effects. And so what they found through this study that he did was fire seasons are getting longer, there are more fires, they're longer duration, more intense, and it requires a lot more resources. So about that time, 2012 circa, a lot of us who had wildfire background from either previous jobs or upbringing or our second jobs, whatever, all kind of came together and formed sort of a team within Murray Fire, pitched it to our administration and to the city, and we eventually got support to be like, okay, you guys can be part of a group as a resource that gets sent out or gets requested to be sent out outside of your jurisdiction, outside of your county. Before that, it was pretty rare that we did that, although within our history, we've been to Draper, we've been to American Fork Canyon, we've been to Layton and things like that. But kind of since that 2012, we got a lot more serious. The results after that were there was a few documents. One of them is our MOU, and we became what they call a cooperator with the state of Utah. And that kind of just means that out of all our 10 snapshot fire agencies within the Salt Lake Valley and anywhere else in the state, they're kind of considered an equal, as long as you pass certain requirements to be an equal with the Forest Service, Bureau of Land Management, and the other state fire resources that they have, as long as you have the right trucks, the right training, equipment, and you can kind of pass things off. The structure fire world has a different set of certification, sort of like discipline that goes down, where the wildfire, it kind of parallels, but they don't always cross over. So there's additional training that we don't typically do in our day-to-day in the city, especially where we're going on medicals and car crashes and stuff like that. We've maintained that since then, and we're building our program with certifications. We currently have about 70% that are like full-fledged red card packing, as we call it, that can go fight big forest fires for extended durations.
How many are involved? How many of our firefighters?
So that's about 45 that are kind of legit to go. We don't
Red
require it. Yeah.
But everybody has a base level training, so all 67 of us have a base level training to go out on anything within the county. But then 44 have a serious legit card and then more to get after it.
Because if you don't have, they're called the NWCG or the red card certifications. Let's say Draper Corner Canyon has a really big fire. We would go help them out as mutual aid for the first day or so. But unless you have like the full-fledged red card or you're considered a cooperator, you're kind of dismissed after the first operational period or first day, and then they go into an extended session. But we're allowed to continue those extended assignments as a cooperator.
And that training helps us stay safe when we're out there and gets us the knowledge and the abilities, because it really is different in a wildland versus a structure fire. You would think all fires are the same, but dramatically different. So here's our newest agreement that we have, just kind of an example. And it's not the whole agreement.
So DNR conducts that training, issues that certification?
They are the authority in the state of Utah to reach out to like the counties and municipalities and they kind of bridge the gap between like the U.S. Forest Service and then departments like ours.
Okay.
So yeah, but we do have
Comes from the feds ultimately, but yes.
a ton of federal land in the state of Utah.
Oh, yeah.
So they own a huge slice of it.
70%, so.
Yeah. So, like I said, wildfire comes in waves, but it hits us all over the place. Here's just last year. The red ones are the human caused. The yellow dots are lightning. Kind of can happen anywhere, but there's a science to it as well with predicting and forecasting. And once the season ramps up, there's a lot of preparation that goes into it with our training and our equipment and our trucks, and we have to have different inspections, but we plan to deploy throughout the summer and into the fall, just kind of following where the requests are. We currently receive requests, and it's kind of a yearly verification. They'll go through, make sure we're all good for this year, and before we can be allowed to get going. But we'll receive requests, generally more than what we're willing to send, because part of our goal is, obviously, our mission is Murray City limits, right? So we'll talk a little bit more about that. So we have our auto aid agreement. That's yet a different document. So we have our state cooperator one, and then there's a auto aid interlocal, which is basically if a 911 call happens within our dispatch footprint, we could go anywhere, and those involved with that could be Tooele, could be Park City. We've gone up and protected Immigration Canyon, Harriman, Saratoga Springs, things like that, because it's kind of like, well, we're all sort of in the same response footprint. So
If your
support
land
each other.
touches the Salt Lake County, then you're in the agreement.
So
That's why Wasatch touches it over the top of Brighton. We respond up, to give you an idea, 12 times on medical calls up to Brighton Ski Resort just this last ski season, or this current ski season. And so wildland is the same way, as if they had something big up there, we would be up there. Just on initial response. It would dispatch would send us and we would go.
guys in the station. But when we receive a request to go out of the area, those are like a phone call that comes to me, and they're like, hey, we need a brush truck to go to Colorado or California. And then we have a little bit more time. It's not like a 911 call where we're rushing out the door. We spend a couple of hours, we touch base with mayor, and we have kind of some internal checks and balances before we pull the trigger on that. So good so far?
Yeah, next.
Okay.
Where's that fire at? That one?
That one is the Wyoming one just this last season up in the Fish Creek wildfire. It was August of 2024. So I've got a ton of pictures if you'd like to go through my scrapbook sometime. So life on a deployment compared to life in a fire station, okay? So majority of the year, our guys are running out of a fire station and they're, going on car crashes and heart attacks and house fires and things like that. When you go out and accept one of these extended assignments, you're committing to 2-3 weeks at a time, different gear, you're working very long days, you're eating sack lunches, you're carrying your own water generally, and it's extreme weather. So we're talking 100-degree days, and shade is a big question mark. Fire conditions are variable. Maybe if you're lucky, you'll sleep in a hammock. Sometimes they provide like sleep trailers when you're down. You need to be familiar with the wilderness orientation, some survival skills. A lot of this is in the dark too. So we navigate through some rough terrain in the dark, off-road, working with aircraft, heavy equipment. chainsaws on our backs and all sorts of things. As opposed to, it's a little bit more, a little different than just life in one of our Murray City fire stations here. So, but this is an opt-in program. Our members, like we said, it's about 70% of our current staff is like volunteers to go on wildland assignments. And then those contracts that we have, the MOU with the state, that allows us the reimbursement mechanism to pay for our staffing and our people and then the overtime while we're gone.
What's the incentive for a firefighter to ask for one of these? Or
The
volunteer?
individuals,
Yeah.
overtime.
So
Okay.
volunteer for the assignment, but not volunteer your time and hourly and stuff. And then the same thing goes back to the city as well. So we're volunteering to go out off the goodness of our backs, however they are going to reimburse us through the cost. So, and now this will get into a little bit, what does Murray have resource-wise? So currently we have 4 fire stations, however 3 are occupied. And so I'll say, with that, we have 3 frontline fire engines. We also have 3 engines in reserve. So when we sent down the engine to California, I still had 5 fire engines left in our city. And that'll get important if something were to fall back that we mentioned earlier. We also have 3 Type 6 engines, and that's a brush truck. So that would be the one that's right here that we've looked at a lot. And that's what we send out typically. However, we did send down to California structural. That's a Type 1 engine. They also have a Type 3, and we don't carry a Type 3 within Murray. Draper has a Type 3 because they get up into the woods and stuff. If we looked at it from a business aspect, most likely we would probably grab in a Type 3 and then rely upon deployments to deploy that out. We also have aerial apparatus, the big ladder truck that we have, and our new one arrives in February of 26, hopefully.
Yay!
And these guys go on all kinds of fires locally from, this is actually a fire, I can't remember the year, but this is our big tanker fire up on the freeway that we did. This is an apartment fire. I really pulled the history books on that one there because Glen A was alive. So this had to be 2010, 2008, somewhere in there. Getting back to our apparatus, we have 5 ambulances, 3 are frontline, and then 1 BC truck. We don't have a backup BC truck unless we just fall into one of the older rigs and so forth. Now, if we had 67 full-timers, which we do, and we divide that out, could I put all of these units into service? So say California happened in Utah of the recent Paradise or Palisades fires, either one of those of recent years. What we would do is we would do an all-call back, and then I would put all 6 of our fire engines in service, and we would be 1 day on, 1 day off, mandatory overtime, and they would be called back, and that would be to house our, and so that utilizes your local resources. So if you ever wonder, why do you have 6 fire engines? That seems a little excessive. Can't you just have 1 or 2 reserves? Well, we could run it that way, but every once in a while you do have 1 or 2 out, and then you're down to bare bones, and if that one's maintenance-wise, it's an incredibly bad idea for a department our size to have anything less than 3 apparatus for a reserve. We could potentially be running in a Type 6 engine for a regular structure fire, and that's not an attack engine that's out there. And so we run that way for the 2 reasons. One is for maintenance, as well as the other one for our ability to respond to major disasters, part of our emergency preparedness. So how does the budget work? To give you an idea, none of this has ever costed Murray City money when we deploy out. It's actually only added to our ability to respond here locally, as well as put money in the surplus to actually provide for the equipment for our own emergency preparedness. So we build out over the 8 deployments $1 million, a little over $1 million. Our expenses that we incurred during that time are about $750,000, and then we collected about $250,000 that goes into our CIP. Each one of those Type 6s, even though we could just get away with 1 in the city, both the 13 and the 2023 were both fully paid by the wildland system through deploying out. And that's a good thing, because that way we essentially didn't have to buy a new Type 6 engine for Murray because we were willing to deploy out. Our fire guys like it because they do collect some overtime as they're out, although their spouses do not like it because they're gone during that time. And that's a long time. As my wife said when I went to days, I love you on days. Even though she loved me when I come home for the full time, it is very much, it looks good on the surface and it feels good for the goofy firefighter, but it's not all that it's cracked out to be, working 10 days a month or 2 days on, 4 days off. But it is glorious. We love it. We're a little messed up in the head, but that's okay. So what questions do you got? I'd love to have you a little bit, maybe 4 minutes, something like that, time-wise.
4 minutes.
We can go back to any slide that you want.
I think I guess mine.
What's the limit? How many fires, like wildfires, could we handle right now?
As a state or as a city?
As a city.
Local
Sorry,
or
local.
out of the area?
Local.
Let's say your Jordan River lit on fire, and then up by where Diane, the canal lit on fire, and let's say something else, we would be fine because we would pull in resources for those two fires. If you had a third part, so let's say Murray Park dried up, and then down behind I hate saying this in public because it gives these arsonists these crazy ideas, but say Murray Park up behind the amphitheater, that one, we'd start to be taxed. So if we had arsonists going through that, we would want to be on that. After the second one lit, we would have guys on patrol surveying where is this guy coming from, because that's not a normal situation.
How
with
many
that.
out of state could we handle? Like, how many people could we deploy?
Probably 8 people we could deploy and then still
That'll be
keep our emergency management. What that would do is I would probably have less command staff. We would probably start deploying, if a major emergency happened here, I would start taking on more myself, and these guys would potentially go into a rotation until we were able to recall those, and we can recall them back. So if we had a major incident, we recall them back. It takes them 24 hours to get back typically on a worst case scenario. Great question though. That's
Does your firefighters go out or is it Public Works or is it Parks and Recs? They go out by the Jordan River
so we
and
actually,
trim and bushes and
we have our Parks and Rec folks do that down by the golf course. They contact us. They actually do a burn during the
Yes.
springtime when you see it.
Yes.
And I'm forgetting the gentleman's name. Feel free to reach out, Kim, and tell me his name.
Jason Lundberg?
That sounds really familiar, and he does a fantastic, he
Yeah.
contacts us, he does this control burn, he's
Yeah.
done it for 30 plus years.
Yeah.
He's like the old farmer that we'd all love to have as our neighbor.
Yeah.
That's what I describe. Am I wrong there?
I got the wrong name.
I was gonna say, that's not Jason. I was sitting here going, Jason's not old, he's young.
Okay, no, this guy has been around with Murray for 20 plus years at the golf course.
Because I know the county took care of Wheeler Farm area
Yeah,
and really
cleaned it up.
cleaned
and
it
the
up.
underbrush.
And so I
Our
was,
parks does hit all of the
Okay.
parks, not all, but a good chunk of it. I run along the Jordan River quite often. I think Murray's is probably the one of the most maintained areas that you see. There is undergrowth and stuff, but you guys do a fantastic job, and the city is maintaining that for our perspective. Anything else?
Great.
We just appreciate all you do, so thank you.
Thanks for the support. This is, you love when you enjoy something.
Can I have just one final statement, if that's okay?
sure.
Is one of the main reasons that we do this is so that we can gain a lot of experience out of the area, so that when something major happens here, we'll be that much more prepared, right? So we've seen major, large fires in California and further, so that we can maintain that experience level here. But the state is currently redoing that MOU agreement for this very year. So soon, that will be turned in for kind of the review process, so that we could, well, may or may not continue the program, but we believe it can be sustained, so.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we're on discussion number 3, an ordinance enacting chapter 3.58 of the Murray City Municipal Code relating to donations and sponsorship. Kim Sorensen, 15 minutes.
Okay, thanks, council, appreciate your time. Although got a little bit worried back there when Joey burned 4 of our major parks in one day.
I know, right?
Yeah, not a problem.
Hey, well, we hired him a long time ago, and he'll just stay. He's our local burn guy.
Yeah. Next time use a different example. So you may question, why are we bringing a donation sponsorship policy to you?
I thought we already had this.
So we don't have a donation sponsorship policy, which is one of the reasons that we're bringing this to you today. Historically, we have allowed some small sponsorships and donations for things like the 5K race. You'll see on the back of the shirts, names of different companies.
Murray High School is surrounded by billboards.
Murray High School is surrounded by billboards. We've allowed some small things for specific events, but when people have come to us saying, hey, we have money we would like to donate to you or sponsor to you, most times we have shied away from that for the main reason being we needed to make sure that the city was getting the benefit from that sponsorship and we weren't providing the company with advertising that would be more valuable than their sponsorship. But over the years, we've worked with GL and we've done it a little bit. Well, we hired a marketing director about 7 months ago, Erica. And one of Erica's ideas or goals is to go out and recruit or go out and see if we can get sponsorships and donations.
Hooray.
In fact, the first month she was there, we had a large, I won't tell you who, but a large hospital in Murray donate to our Halloween trunk or treat. They donated to the Elf Workshop. We really needed a donation sponsorship policy. So GL's been working for quite some time on this, and what he's put together we love, and I appreciate GL's efforts on it. So it really does three things that I think are important. One is it gives us a policy to follow for donations and sponsorship. The other thing is it includes the mayor and the council in the decision process. And then the third thing is there's a reporting guideline where the council will always know what we've done as far as donations and sponsorship. So
Like you will report to the council on how much donations you receive?
Yeah, let me just quickly go over some of the key points I think in the policy. First off is it specifies property, facility, event, and activity that the money will be used for. It does not constitute an endorsement for whoever's giving us the money. And then the other thing is anything over $100,000 the council needs to approve. Anything under $100,000 the mayor can approve. However, the finance director will report periodically to the council as to what we've taken and what we've used it for. And it looks like Brenda's back there. I know she was working on the budget, and she told me to make sure that you knew that she was online and agreed with this policy. Another thing the policy does is it allows for naming rights in facilities. So if we are going to name a facility, let's just take the theater, and I failed to mention, the theater is another reason we need a sponsorship policy. I can see where there's some opportunity with the theater for sponsoring different nights, events, or concerts. But if we were to name the theater, the council would have authority and approval of that. If we were to name specific rooms or fixture, let's say we're going to name the concession area or the restrooms, the mayor can approve that.
I've got something for the rest of
The stage, and it may be that we have a company come and want the stage named after a ticket, and we may do that for a period of time. The mayor would have a approval of that, and of course, he would have to report to the council. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Naming, is it limited to facilities? Could we theoretically off of this have the Diane Turner, Director of Parks and Recreation? Like, could we name, we could name a position after that.
Oh, wait a minute, you said a position?
Position?
Like, think about like a university. You have an endowed chair who's named after a donor. Does this policy open up?
That is way over my head. I'm gonna have to ask you.
That's all I have, all I have, never
Right
thought.
now, it's just facilities.
Just facilities. So it doesn't allow for any
So just-
positions.
Just real quickly, so state law specifically allows Parks and Rec to receive donations. But this gives some order to it, and as much as I love Kim and what he's done for Parks and Rec, he won't always be there, believe it or not. And when he leaves, you want to have that consistency. And that's why this is something in writing. It deals primarily with facilities as far as naming rights are concerned. I can look into the other thing and report back to you. But I really feel like the bulk, if not all donations and sponsorships will be through Parks and Rec. That's typically where it comes from. So that's what the focus was, just the facilities. If you take, for example, golf course named after Lynn Pat, that was a facility the city council named. And so we're just following what we've done. It's just now in writing.
Okay. So we're doing this more just to establish a process more than trying to avoid a legal pitfall since it's already a state law.
Yeah, there
Government.
are some legal issues there. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
You bet. And this helps with that.
Okay.
Right? Gives you some sort of criteria to follow.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah. Katie's back. Good, I'm glad we had that.
I love it.
We appreciate DL and his office's work on this.
Yep.
This will work. And we'll see, during great economic times, it's probably easier. We do some sponsorships when times are tough, not so much.
I think it's a great idea. Okay. All right. Now we're on to discussion item number 4, an ordinance enacting chapter 3.60 of the Murray City Municipal Code relating to fees for use of preserving the Murray City Theater and Murray Park Amphitheater. Kim Sorensen presenting 15 minutes.
Okay, so this is a preservation fee for I'm sorry, does everybody know Katie?
No, I don't.
This is Katie Lynn, thanks Mayor, this is Katie Lindquist, she is the theater manager.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sure we'll all get to know Katie really well in the next few
Nice to
years.
meet you.
How long you worked here, Kate?
I think like 6, in my 6th or 7th year.
In the same position?
No, I was Lori's assistant first.
Okay, I know you look familiar.
Yeah, I've been around just.
She's great.
She's
good.
All right, good to hear it.
I'm glad nobody asked her when the theater was gonna be open.
We already do.
We know, it's 2028.
Nope, it's
This
not.
year, this year.
This year.
Awesome.
So what we're here to discuss is a preservation fee, not only for the theater, but also for the amphitheater. And it's a preservation fee that will be charged per seat, that is paid for. It will exempt free concerts, education, and then complimentary tickets. And kudos to Katie. Katie has spent a lot of time putting this together with legal and studying other facilities that have it. Most of the county arts, county theaters have a preservation fee. In fact, most government-owned theaters have a preservation fee. So we contracted with Zions Financial, who did a study of the amphitheater and the theater. Now, this study was done with real numbers with our outdoor amphitheater. With our theater, we estimated, and we were very conservative in our estimates. It may be that we come back in a year and say we missed it, we need to charge more, but we'll see.
I think you do need to charge more. I mean, this doesn't make sense to me.
And you're right, you probably saw the maximum fee that Zions gave us was $4.38 a seat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see how this is feasible. I mean, $1, $2, how much do other cities charge that have these kinds of venues? Like, how much does Sandy charge theirs, for their fees? What are their fees?
I don't know if you remember exactly, I don't remember their exact fees.
Sandy just switched over to Ticketmaster, is that who they go to?
Yeah.
Something like that, and they went up. I mean, it used to be
We're
when we bought
right
tickets there.
there with most of them, maybe a little below, not a lot below, though, but
Really?
The county does $1 and $2. They just redid their structure a couple years ago and raised it up to $2.
So I'm just looking at
It just
Zion's estimate on
Doesn't
expenses at
make
90,000.
sense.
and this is gonna bring in 25,000.
Right.
I'm a history major, but I can do that math.
Yeah, I know, same.
And it's not meant to cover all of the operation and maintenance, but it is, well, it is meant that the users are paying a bigger share. Those people that are coming to the theater, whether they're residents or non-residents.
Yeah, it just seems like that's not, I mean, obviously, it's not nearly enough, but
Are you
You're okay
open,
with
are you
that?
open to bumping that up a little bit, or?
It depends on who you ask.
Okay.
So
pros and cons.
I thought it was a little low, however, and I don't want to speak for Katie, but she was concerned about charging or having that fee so high that we impact the cost of our seats when we're trying to open the theater and develop a theater that the public likes and wants to come to. So I see what she's saying and our arts board was the same way. Our arts board felt like we wanted to err on the side of a lower fee now and see how it goes.
And even listening to what you're saying, if the county's at $1 and $2, how much wiggle room do we really have? A quarter? The ticket price, 50 cents? Like, we're still gonna be in a deficit, no matter how we look at it. We're gonna have to supply it with through other means.
And I see the good thing about, assuming the council likes and approves it, the good thing is we will have a reservation fee. We should have had one back in 1984 when we opened the outdoor amphitheater, and then when we went through economic downturns, we could have still maintained it to the level that we want.
I think it should be doubled.
And we're happy to listen to your
It just,
recommendations and make adjustments if that's
I
the
think-
direction.
I think it makes sense to have the people that use it help pay for it, and not our citizens, that don't use it.
Won't step foot.
So I just think that, from my perspective, it makes more sense to have a little higher fee. I mean, that's just.
But we also have to be really careful about citizens that they take their kids there because it's not expensive and it's something for them to do during the spring, the summer, and the fall time
Sure.
for their kids. And if we tax them too much on a service fee, then it's going to deter them not to come to the theater or the amphitheater.
I don't
So,
think that's
no,
true.
I really, we need to take this idea back to the board that looked at this pricing and give them, Diane and all the other council members' ideas, that we should bump it up. But I'm very, a little shy into going too far, because then our citizens with children, this is something that they can do, and it's not a burdensome on their family budget. So we could take all the ideas back to the board.
Well, and it would go
Our
back
council-
to Mayor Hills.
Yes.
Yeah, Mayor Hills.
Yeah.
So what are your 436, what we're saying?
Well, 436 was Zion's Financial's maximum that we could charge,
Up to.
up to 436.
That was just for the theater, right?
That's for both.
That's,
Oh, for both.
yeah.
I would say just bump it up just for the theater, not for the amphitheater. I mean,
Can we separate that out?
Oh, yeah, we can separate it out.
And maybe have, I would assume that children would cost less, right? I mean,
The preservation fee.
Yeah, it's just
It's
Per
based
seat.
per seat, not.
Right.
Or can we
right.
make it a percentage of the ticket cost?
And there are some that make it a percentage of the ticket cost. Not, I don't think they're in use of.
No.
I think one of the things that we'll do whatever, I think, Katie, I don't want to speak for you, but I have the same feel at first, and Katie, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Katie's concern was we're just starting this. We
Right.
want to see where we're at. I'm a little nervous that, because I've told her this can't fail. This has to work. And so but,
No, I get that,
But
but
I get
then
what you're
people
saying,
get
yeah.
used to,
well, that's true.
and then they, all of a sudden,
Sure.
the fees are kicked up and they think, oh, well, this isn't too cool. So that's
What's
my
our
concern.
average price of a ticket
I
right now
just think,
at the amphitheater?
$10 and $12, and then
So with
$25
the
concerts.
concerts are $25, the plays are $10. So we're talking now at $11,
$11.
and if we went to $2, that's $12 for the plays.
Instead of 10, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because it's 10 right now, we go, that's still
That's
pretty
amazing.
economical.
So we did go up $2 in our musical pricing, and that caused a lot of stir.
Really? From
Um,
8 to 10?
We
Causes
went from
certain?
8 to 10 and 10 to 12 for adult and child.
Okay,
Then,
Um,
did you say that people,
how long ago?
that, I think last year we,
Really?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
so, if it's okay to speak, one thing I see on the preservation fee is more of a service to the city, not necessarily to the citizens. It's a way where we charge a ticket, right, and that goes to general fund. Where with the preservation fee, we're able to collect part of those ticket fees or revenue and keep it earmarked for the theater. So it's not meant to generate a revenue enough to cover the theater, but to keep some of the revenue from the theater to the theater, but also a way for citizens to recognize that it's a historic building, right? So that's just my perspective on that. Again, it's not meant to cover all costs, but as a way of how can we use some of our costs and keep it.
Now, yeah, you got my brain going. Is this based upon
Uh-oh.
I know. So is this based upon how many performances are we doing a year? Is Zion's estimating?
It was based off of how many tickets we sold at the amphitheater, and then to get an estimate for the theater, we said, okay, the amphitheater's double the, okay, yeah.
No, you're good. Keep going.
Amphitheater holds double the seats, so we cut the total tickets in half. But then the amphitheater's only open for 3 to 4 months, which the theater will be year-round, and tripled that half number. And that's how we
So we took the amphitheater seats and just basically
Went off of that.
made it for a whole year.
It's a swag.
So it's probably going to be more, but we don't know that. Next year, we can reevaluate.
So if we add 2 concerts, for example, next year, because the concerts went really well last year, that increases how much we're going without increasing the fee at the same point in time.
And the more, like I say, butts are in the seat, the more obviously.
Which I think, I lean toward, if we can, I don't wanna kill your staff as I say this, but if we added more programming there, I think that's probably a better way, and we'll get more revenue that way.
That's our hope.
this year, aren't we?
Yeah, that, our hope is that, we're doing a lot more programming per month at the theater than we are.
The one in Sandy does a lot of business.
Yeah.
Oh,
They do a lot.
Well, they bring
Yeah,
in,
they-
they bring in Chicago,
Yeah.
all the air supply.
We're trying to get it to have a reservation fee in place when we do private rentals at the theater. If they're selling seats, even if we don't collect the revenue of the ticket sales, but we include that preservation fee that we get. So we'll get revenue off of private rentals, even though it's not our program. That's just a nice little pressure revenue.
But recommend, what do we?
Yeah, we're happy to take the recommendation, bring it back
Wanna
to
send it
you.
back?
And Brenda also did one. Oh, she's left, yeah, oh, she's back there. She supports this and the money will go into a separate account that'll be earmarked for capital improvements at
Oh, yeah, yeah,
the theater.
totally get that.
What do we define as capital improvement? Like if we need to add a new technological thing, like we need jumbotrons, like big video boards that aren't there previously.
Replace carpet.
Yeah, is it only for replacement or can we add as part of
We can
capital
add.
project?
Yeah, we can add.
Okay,
Like, for example, with the amphitheater, we talked about, needing to replace the stage, but also in the replacement, we could add a lift for the orchestra, but things like that where it's not necessarily replacing, but things to improve the quality, like the seats. If we had a preservation fee in the past, that could have gone towards those seats.
And it's important to also note that the mayor finance director and parks and recreation director give the authority as to where the money should be spent.
So tell me why, and I read this, I'm just trying to remember, why $2 and $1? Why not $2 and $2?
Cause with the theater, my goal is to not overload patrons, with service fees and stuff. There will already be a credit card service fee. So I look at like if they're going to a theater, movie, which might be a $7 ticket movie. I would hate to just add, the higher end extra fee to that when it's a lower cost film. So the lower the cost, the lower the quality, you could say. I mean, we want high quality there, but if we're bringing in someone out of state, that's a bigger show, that's a bigger quality, which is why it's a bigger ticket price. And so we expect to be more of a full house versus a movie will maybe not get a full house. And so there's gonna be more wear and tear in that facility. Bigger ticket.
So what's the seating capacity?
Seating capacity in the theater is about 320, right around 320.
You're talking the amphitheater or you're talking our theater?
And then the amphitheater is 680,
So 680.
680. So it's about double.
Yeah, I just think we could, I mean, to defray the cost, because, providing that is not cheap. I mean, and to make sure the quality is good, the facility is kept up. So, I mean, I'm okay if you wanna wait for a year and then see how it works out. If you have plenty of money to do all those things, then it just doesn't seem to me
I
like
don't
it.
think I'll find
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna have plenty of money, but why don't I suggest that we go a year, we hire Zions after a year after we open, because this was a pretty simple, and didn't cost a lot to have Zions do this, graph, so. And then relook at it in 2026.
So on that point, we're gonna get more kickback by raising prices in a year? Or
I
just
know,
by
that's-
starting off and having a higher price than,
And have people just think what a great deal it is. I mean, oh my goodness. I think it's awesome when you compare it with how much do cities around us charge? Do you know what kind of fees do they have? Do you?
Katie mentioned the county's charging $1 or $2.
But they get a lot of other funding, so.
True, but we're in competition with
I
them.
think the,
like Eccles?
all county, theater. So Eccles, Rose Wagner.
Eccles is only $1 preservation fee?
Eccles is
$2?
probably on the $2.
Yeah, that's pretty economical
I
for
have
that
to
place.
double check if, I think that was their new ones, but, the Utah Theater in Logan does $1.
It's much easier to have the price structure built in when we open than to come in later on and add a fee. I think that PR wise, it just makes sense to just start with it.
You get used to it and then have to say, sorry, we need more.
Yeah, so if you come a year later and go, now we have to have a use fee, people are gonna go.
And hopefully by then, they're like, hey, that's a fun thing to do on Friday night. They're used to it and they'll pay the extra $1.
If this was a law, I'd be more concerned, you know what I mean?
Yeah. If you do the math, if you take every seat full at least once a week, we're talking less than 100,000.
Yeah, you're right.
So we're not talking serious amount of money yet. That's,
Well, 100,000 is gonna cover all their expenses. Because their expenses are only 90,000.
Yeah,
That's the amphitheater and theater.
but these
Yeah.
are capital projects for repairs, improvements, things like that.
Yeah, you're right.
Replacing a couple of air conditioners in a commercial building, you're 60, 70,000, so it's, I feel we're in the ballpark.
Okay. I just got indication that we are now done.
Hold
Do you
on.
want to give us a
Oh.
direction or?
Where are we? I don't think we need to give a direction before we go off. Do we wanna send this to our meeting or do we wanna send it back?
I'm comfortable with what they're proposing. I'm comfortable with it.
I am too.
With the asterisks that we look at it again in a year.
If we need to increase
If we
it.
need to.
Yeah.
I just think it's just, I think we need to push it up a bit. I just really think that the arts in our city deserves that. I mean, I just think it's in really
The other thought is you could raise the $1 to $2 and the $2 to $3, and if we find that it's too much, we can come back again.
if you don't need it.
We will always need it. It basically.
Right, I mean, that's the thing. I
Either
would
comes from
rather raise it now than have people get used to it and then all of a sudden,
Not if we're competing against
raising
other
it
venues
again.
that have $1 or $2.
Yeah.
so that's,
And some have none, like if you go to Daybreak,
Yeah, some have.
out there, they have the same groups we have, and they don't charge it. Beer.
Yeah, I lean toward.
So you got
Let's
to reevaluate, so you got.
That's my thought.
What is
I'd
it?
rather not touch it.
So
It's a recommendation from science, from your groups, from the mayor. We need to leave it, come back in a year. to
science
relook.
recommended
let's see if we can go up to
a
4.
lot.
So it seems like the majority of the council is waiting, come back in here. That's where we are.
We will present it to you in 2 weeks and. Okay. Thanks for your time, and again, we appreciate Katie. Katie has done a heck of a job with this preservation fee and also getting the theater ready. We're excited to see what she's going to offer.
That's not surrounded by fences now. It's kind
I know, huh?
It's starting to look a little bit nicer.
Yes.
It's gonna be
There's that wall.
That crane's like
Is that a back wall?
Crane is still there.
That's the back wall,
It's got a wall
but
now.
now there's a huge pit.
Yeah, I heard about the huge.
So
Is that the new swimming pool?
there's like not enough water underneath.
Yeah, there is.
There's no pool.
Oh, don't say
Keep
that.
that as our story.
Yeah.
Could you like Duacon and just have the water come in and.
Yeah, there you go. We could use our own water.
Thank you,
Thanks
Katie.
again. Thanks for all you do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you.
Okay, we are on number 5. Discussion on an ordinance amending section 17.156.020 C-N Commercial Neighborhood District to allow land use number 7410 sports activity as a permitted use. Zachary Smallwood is presenting 15 minutes.
I'm not gonna take 15 minutes, so
Sure.
I promise.
Just wait till I start asking questions.
It
It's
should
just in your
seem, it should
district.
seem like a slam dunk.
Whereabouts is it?
Well, so I would just say that this is not anybody's district per se. This is a land use text amendment. So this is for every property in the CN zone. It's a request to add a land use code 7410 to the list of permitted uses in the CN district. That includes, so you can see up here, golf courses, more golf courses, tennis courts, ice skating rinks, roller skating, etc. So the request for this has come forward from Another Round Golf. They are a disc golf company that would like to also offer, some like event watching and practicing of disc golf in their space where they sell retail stuff.
Where's their space?
It's off 9th East. It's just,
It's by,
yeah, it's
right by 7-Eleven, right in their corner.
right, yeah,
It's
just south of
Caesar's,
59th.
Right across from
Yeah.
the new Maverick.
Yep, so they have a space there that they sell disc golf stuff. And we're seeing a lot of, in the retail world, a lot of things change over to more experiential type things. So you'll get this more experience with all the different retail uses. So we're recommending this. It's very small. We specifically called out that in the code, this is where the code section would be in no more than a 2,500 square foot and indoor only. That way it's not impacting, because we do recognize the CN as a neighborhood commercial zone. So we want to make sure that it's not impacting the community outside or anything like that.
And parking?
Parking would be treated just the same as anything else in the CN zone, which is usually about one space for 250 square feet.
So on these activities, are these the only activities that are gonna be permitted?
Yes.
So what about like axe throwing, which you
Well,
have
so-
demonstrated right there?
So it would come down to pretty much the discretion of the Chad. So they'd make an application with us. So that 7419 where it says other sports
Oh, okay.
activities, NEC stands for not elsewhere classified.
Okay.
So if it's something that is largely the same as those areas, yeah, we would evaluate that.
And so this is gonna be, when it says golf courses, are we thinking like that?
That's
Like
what,
it's internal.
yeah, it
or
could
are we
be-
saying also like an 18-hole
Nope.
golf course?
no, because it's only in 2,500 square feet, so you're
Okay,
not gonna get
all right,
18
that's
holes.
what- okay.
I mean, unless they're very small. So,
Miniature golf.
yeah, exactly. It probably wouldn't even fit miniature golf.
Yeah.
We're thinking kind of
Okay.
like these golf simulator areas or,
Yeah.
you know, axe throwing, things like that. We think it would benefit the community writ large. It allows people to kind of walk to these things. And
What's the name of the place that's like this, that's on the same, the west side? Pam and I went to the open house, kind of sports. They have golf simulators in there and.
I'm not sure. We've had a couple, maybe Elvon knows.
Yeah,
Where
the-
did he go? He's right back there.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I just can't remember the name of it.
I know we have one called the Golf Cove, which is off 200 West that just got a CMP for it, so.
Golf Galaxy has a simulator in it.
They do, yep.
It's nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So are these allowed in other codes too, or is it
Uh-huh.
only the CN zones?
So-
Sorry, not code, zones.
Yeah, so they are allowed in other zones.
Okay.
The CN specifically didn't allow for
Okay,
it.
so we're just expanding it to that. So commercial could previously have it and now CN can.
Yep. Yeah, that's why you would see, I think we used to have an axe throwing place off of across the street from the mall.
Yeah.
Right.
2,500 is not very big.
It is not very big, and that's why we wanted to make sure that it's limited because of that CN zone. We don't want somebody to come in and put a huge entertainment complex right in the middle of, right in the middle of where a residential neighborhood would be very close, which is where CN usually is applied.
I'm really intrigued to see how he's gonna pull this off, because it's not a big space.
No, it's
You're
not.
right, as you're suggesting, it's not big.
Was
So-
there any
It's not
ladders?
as big as our home.
No, I have not received any.
Nothing?
Nothing, not a peep.
Okay.
Nope. So, yeah, we are recommending, the planning commission held a public hearing on December 19th and voted 5-0 to forward a recommendation for approval. So we are recommending that the city council approve this text amendment. Happy to
It
answer
kind of
questions.
reminds me of a smaller version of the Galleria. That's what it reminds me of. And it's,
It probably would not be that
Much.
big, yeah.
Yeah, no, but a smaller version.
Well, I mean, even then, it'll probably be a single use, like a single type of use.
Yeah.
Not like multiple different sports activities.
I am too. Sounds great.
Great.
You're gonna test fly that disc that you just bought.
Yeah,
Okay, so are we, you want to go on to your next one?
yeah, if you would like.
Okay, number 6, a discussion on an ordinance relating to land use amends the zoning map from R-1-10, single-family low density to R-16, single-family medium density for the properties located at 1504 and 1508 East Vine Street. Murray City, Zachary Smallwood, you have 15 minutes.
Yep, perfect. So yeah, this is a request from Mr. Porkazemi, wanting to rezone the two properties you can see on your screen. It's 1504 and 1508 East Vine Street. So his original request, he wants to do a flag lot. So you can actually see that it almost looks like a flag lot as it currently sits. He currently has enough space to do it under the R110 zone. However, we have a requirement in the zoning district that properties have to be a certain width in order to be conforming. So because he doesn't meet that width, he wouldn't be allowed to do a flag lot.
How much is he off by?
I think it requires 80 and I think he's at 68-ish. Yeah. And so he's requested to go down to the R16, which only requires a 60-foot lot width on both properties, and he would be able to do a flag lot or potentially two. He could do up to a maximum of 2 flag lots because this is a very large property. Like I said, he could currently do one if it weren't for those lot width.
So I read in the paper that he could have up to 4 houses on here.
The 2 existing and 2 flag lots.
Or we could tear down the 2, but.
Correct.
So, what are the parameters of R16?
Yeah, so we can go through that. R1, so up on your screen is the differences between the R110 and the R16. So single family lot size is obviously 10,000 square foot per lot. R16 is 6,000 square foot per lot. Height, actually R16 is a little bit lower. It's 35 feet, not much, but still a little bit lower. Front yard setbacks are reduced to 20 feet instead of 25. Rear yard stays the same, it's 25 feet. Side yards, it's a little complex, but it's a minimum of 8 on one side, has to equal 20 total. So you get like 8 and 12 or 10 and 10, however it gets you to 20. In the R16, it's 5 feet on either side. And then corner yard setback, which really wouldn't apply to this property, but it's 20 feet. And then both parking requirements are 2 spaces per dwelling.
And what can be there?
Single family homes.
That's it,
That's it.
nothing else.
Nothing else.
There's no conditional.
So there are conditional use permits for attached housing if it's over 2 acres, which it is not. So there's no way that they could do that.
That's,
The 2 parking spaces have to be covered, garage, or
Not necessarily.
just hard
It
surface?
just have to be, located on the property. So again, the planning commission, same thing, held a public hearing on December 19th, voted 5-0 to forward a positive recommendation to city council. So staff and the planning commission are recommending approving this request.
Couple questions from the planning commission.
Sure.
One resident asked about property values.
Mhm.
What impact would this have on property values?
So I don't anticipate there would be any impact. If anything, it would most likely go up because you're taking a vacant piece of property and improving it, putting additional improvements to new houses. Usually new construction raises the home values of the surrounding neighborhoods.
it improves the aesthetics,
Exactly.
especially in that particular lot.
So are his plans to keep the 2 houses and add 2 more?
That's his goal right now. Yeah, as it's been communicated to me.
Construction wise, how would you do that?
Yeah, so the only access would be from Vine, right?
Yeah, so that brings us to the second issue that they had
Sure.
on the planning commission was the access into the church. And so is he gonna follow construction things on the church as he
No.
does this?
No, so he would have to, so as part of the flag lot subdivision, which would come after the rezoning,
Yeah.
which would get reviewed by the planning commission. So when you're doing a flag lot subdivision, if he does one flag lot, then it's a 28-foot access. It has to be a 20-foot driveway, pretty much 20-foot wide driveway with 4 feet of landscaping on either side.
Oh, geez,
So it
yeah,
would
it's
be-
right down the middle.
Yeah, it would either come right down the middle or on one of the sides, most likely down the middle. Or if he's gonna do 2 flag lots, it has to be 38 feet wide.
Mm.
So it's a very wide area and plenty large for, I think, construction materials as well.
I have a couple, page 5 of the planning commission minutes. You stated that, you addressed the question regarding what will happen to the existing dwellings. He said that because of the applicant doesn't have to present plans, they don't know what will happen yet.
I mean, that's typical with any rezone request, right? So he could maintain the homes.
Keeping in mind
He
that.
Do you
could,
think we're gonna see some more of these with people that have more property, like this gentleman in the older sections of Murray that have property?
this is pretty common. I could give you a whole handful of different flag lots. This is a very common thing. I was at one point trying to advocate to lower the lot widths on properties to allow, so we wouldn't necessarily increase density, but we would allow for, like this guy could have just redeveloped it for his one thing. But he had went forward and made that application before I could really get through whether that's a feasible thing. So,
Oh, and he does talk about the Presbyterian Church,
Yeah, so they did have.
which is
yeah.
on page 5. They talk about that.
Yeah, there, I guess, was like a hole in the fence.
The gentleman said if he has plans to improve the fencing between his property and the Presbyterian church, he asked if he'll be enclosing the fence to remove access to neighboring properties. The applicant said he's willing to do what he has asked of him. He said that he believed there was an easement based on a vertical agreement he had with the church when he bought the property 15, 20 years ago. Chair Patterson said that the church does not wish to allow the easement, and the applicant said he would stop using it. And I'm asking, will he stop using it?
We can't
We can't
dictate
dictate
that.
I know.
We
That's-
can't dictate that. That's
I
gonna
know.
be
That's
something that the two property owners have to decide.
Adam, is this your district?
Yeah.
How do people feel about this?
I haven't heard stuff yet. I have a feeling I will.
What is that mean?
I've had some
What does that mean?
I've had one resident reach out to me and they said to listen to the planning commission meeting minute, like listen to it, which I did, because there were solid, their point was there was some good information that was shared from the residents. So,
You don't see any concerns?
I worry about, there's a community garden right there. I worry about how it impacts the church. The church is a huge community gathering place right there for
I've been there
that part of there. Yeah, we've been there before. So I want to make sure it doesn't impact them.
Yeah.
The residents who are immediately to the west, they appeared at the planning commission. They said their comment was, we want him to be able to do what he needs to do, we just don't want it to affect our property value. They were the property value people, but they were very clear.
Yeah.
We don't want to stand in the way of him doing what he needs to.
Yeah.
And the church was concerned about the passageway and what was going there. So those are your two immediate residents on the east and west. They're north is Vine, south is still the church.
And I would just make one mention also. When this application first came in, I was almost very much in the no space that I was going to recommend denial. But as you can kind of see on the zoning map here, these are the two properties right here. And it's not shown on the slide, so I figured I'd bring up the zoning map. As you can see, there's a multifamily zone right across Vine Street with townhomes, and then just very short distance is a very large R16 subdivision. And then these houses, at least these 4 houses are duplexes that existed. And so after, taking that more analytical look, I was like, I don't think it's gonna have the impact.
The real R110 is across the trail.
Yeah.
Like that's the R110.
This is the big spaces up here.
And I look at it every day, so, you know.
This is across the street from
It's
Diana.
right across the street
So she
from
knows
where I
it.
Are these
live.
your townhomes?
No, not
Oh, she's in
well,
condos.
yeah,
Oh,
I'm not
yeah.
in town.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, the people were concerned because the fellow that owns it is not very credible to them. But the parameters of the zoning will dictate it, and he can only build, a very limited, and I think it'll improve it. So I certainly don't have a problem with it. And like I said, we have to go with the zoning, so we don't.
Just one procedural question.
Yeah.
Is it normal for us to for an applicant to not put anything on the detail and request? Because I know that came up in the planning commission.
Oftentimes they don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think
Okay.
Hey. So we're on to number 7, legislative update and discussion on the Utah Housing Strategic Plan. Myself and Adam Hawk. I will do the legislative update, and I'm just gonna tell you right now, what I'm saying right now could be gone, voted on, or thrown out the window, so who knows? Anyways, it was quite an interesting conversation yesterday. First was Senate Bill 377. there is about 81% of league members that are concerned about this bill. The league had over 300 people at their unprecedented LPC last Thursday, which I was on Zoom for that. And several legislators were also on that Zoom meeting. That was the webinar where the league laid out what was in the original version of the bill. The league used Slidos, which were questions for those that have voting rights, to get the feedback from the members. The league heard loud and clear that the people were very concerned about this bill as drafted. The league is in turn relayed that information to the governor's office and to the bill's sponsors. They acknowledged our concern, and the league said we're a hard no as is. And that was last Thursday. They came back on Saturday and asked the league what if we do it this way. And that resulted in a substitute bill that dropped on Sunday. And just to interject some things here, I am so glad, I don't know when the city joined with the league, but those people are phenomenal. Cameron, his brain, I don't know how he takes all this information and forms it and has it out on a spreadsheet for those of us that have no idea or do. But anyways, I'm glad that the city is involved with the Utah Leagues of Cities and Towns. He's done this for 17 years, and it's amazing. That resulted in a substitute bill that dropped on Sunday. The league felt like it was a week ago, but it was on Sunday. On Monday, the first sub has a key provision that is different from the original. The key provision in the first sub is that the city has to provide local consent. So now it is more of a partnership rather than a preemption. That was the centerpiece of the concern that the league's members raised at the LPC last week. The bill now creates a new state authority that works with the cities to seek out generational projects. It also creates a coordinating council. This will align the strategic objectives for the state of Utah and economic development strategy. As part of that coordinating council, the league would have a seat, which is a big difference from the original bill. The members in the league stand position pending. So that was that one.
So hold on, can we back up? Because I don't know if everybody knows what this bill is.
No,
Yeah.
Okay, so what's
well.
happening with this bill is a state is going to create a commission, and the commission is for, they're saying large projects that are generational, once a
Yes.
generation project.
Like
The
down
first
at the
dra-
point of
Yeah.
the mountain.
So the first draft of the bill said, the first rendition said, the state would come in and the city couldn't do anything.
Right,
They would have
infrastructure and
no
all that.
infrastructure, nothing,
Yep.
state
Yep.
dictates this is what's happening.
Yep.
We have no local control, we lose all land use authority of it.
Right.
Sub 1 has come out and allows us to veto it, but if we give agreement to it, it's irrevocable. Once we agree to it, we can't change our mind as a city. So it's better, but there's still issues with it. So League the league was ready to burn down the place over this bill. Like
Yeah.
they went hard.
They
and-
did.
Yeah, if you listen to LPC, they
Yeah.
pretty much laid into the governor and others, and we're like,
Yeah.
we'll torch this place, like in our opposition. So, like,
And there's,
yeah, it
and
was-
that's where we all agreed that even though we don't have a lot of property here in Murray, and there's cities all around us that do, we all have to work together because we don't know what the rippling effect will be that comes to us as Murray City. So even though we don't have a lot of property like Saratoga or Lehigh or, oh goodness, Highland and where Red Barn is. I
Exactly.
forgot where Red Barn is. Where? What? Santa Quinn, which I just passed. I mean, these are the cities that have property that the state could come in and do what they want and however they want. And so we're all standing together as a league. And that's where the league said, you know, I know this isn't going to affect some of the cities, but we all have to be together on this. And so.
and the
that's
bill's vague enough that it could affect, like you're saying, large land areas.
Yes.
But they could say it's a generational project that's really small that could affect us because there's no guidelines or parameters in the bill of what constitutes this generational type project. It's whatever
Because the state does have
determines.
property here in Murray.
Yeah, so the state one
So
day
they
says,
could come in
we
here
wanna-
and do some things in Murray.
because Cameron talked about how they want to get a Fortune 50 company's headquarters in Utah.
Yes,
That could easily affect us if they decide
yeah.
they want to put the building in Murray.
Yeah.
Like, and we might not have control over that.
So we're just, I don't know where it is right now.
Sub 2 hasn't dropped yet.
So
So the league was pretty.
it was just, it's just amazing that these people can work with absolutely no sleep and no food and some food and rotten food and it's
So-
like, I'm in awe with the league. I really am, with the
So,
ULCT
The
people.
bill is currently circled.
Yeah,
The league yesterday was pretty optimistic there will be a sub 2 coming out. It has not come out yet. So we're circled. It is in limbo.
So it's.
yeah,
Yep.
so.
It's a
But
bill
he wants this
purgatory.
because he has this the governor has this big picture of what he wants to see Utah as.
For now.
He has this big picture and he wants it. And
Governor wants it.
anyways, okay, so Senate Bill 337 has to pass the Senate Tuesday night, and there's still some work to be done on Senate Bill 37. Do you want to take that one, Adam? 337?
That's what we just talked about.
That's the one. Oh, yes, that's right. Sorry. I'm just reading. Okay, Senate Bill 310 is Transportation Utility Fee Amendment. This is Brady Brammer. Tough bill. The league expects that to be up for a vote today, if not already. The league is opposed to this bill because the exemption for religious organizations. Now, religious organizations, that's all religion, that they don't want to pay the fee, but they use the roads and everything to build what they need to build, the religious entities or people. So anyways, in the House, Rep. Karen Peterson has her transportation utility fee amendment bill that the league opposes as well, and that could have been voted on already because that came up for a vote this morning. This bill is expected that there will also be a religious exemption put into her bill as well, which is going to put the league in a position to oppose the language.
Could I
That's
just add,
HB4.
Murray City does not have a transportation utility fee,
Oh.
but that's something that you could charge if you wanted to.
Giddy up.
Yep.
Do it.
So we
Yeah, we have that.
yeah,
And I think that did pass.
it did
I
pass.
think it's out of the House. It
It's
says
out of the
that.
House.
I think
Okay.
so.
Well,
I
see.
think I saw that today.
And today is the last day for committees. Senate Bill 328, the Alcohol Amendment Sub 1, passed out of the committee with a favorable recommendation.
What's that?
Sub-bill, I'll give it to you, 1 minute. Sub-bill 1 gives local governments more flexibility regarding alcohol licensing requirements for proximity to public parks and playgrounds.
Who put that, now who was the one that did that? The representative,
Who sponsored it?
who sponsored it, sorry, thank you.
I had to write that down.
That's okay.
What-
I have it.
Which bill number is it? I can pull it up really quick.
I'm just
It's
curious to know how to be a-
328, Senate Bill 328.
SB 2328.
I mean,
It is
Brammer?
Stevenson.
Oh, Stevenson.
Yeah, this is their annual alcohol omnibus bill.
Did you get a feel for what you think?
What I've read is everybody's saying don't touch it. We negotiated it. It's happy, don't touch it. You'll mess it up if you touch it.
I figured.
So it's probably just gonna go through as is.
Senate Bill 277, this is the sub 3, Government Records Management Amendment passed out of committee with a favorable recommendation. ULCT supports this bill, replacement of the State Records Committee with an administrative law judge. So this isn't the, what?
This is the grandma bill.
Yeah. So,
So it changes the grandma committee to have a trained professional, trained lawyer
Right.
now over
Yep.
grandma requests instead of.
Kim will like this one, maybe, I don't know. Senate Bill 298 was mowing ordinance amendment passed out of the committee with an amendment to change the ordinance form prohibiting restriction on landscaping between 5 a.m. and 10 p.m. to 5:30 a.m. and 10 p.m.
Mowing and golf courses.
Yes,
What else are going on?
yep, golf courses. So. Senate Bill 67, Sub 1, Local Option Sales Tax Amendment, passed out of committee with a favorable recommendation. ULCT supports this bill as it allows certain local governments to impose a sale and use tax to fund emergency services. Do you want to say anything more on that one?
This is just mainly around national parks, so it's really not applicable to marine.
Nope. And then we have the election law. HB 300, amendment to the election laws, passed out of a committee with a favorable recommendation, requires the lieutenant governor to establish procedures and requirements for improving the accuracy of voter registration rolls. Provides that an individual who is eligible to vote in Utah may obtain a state ID card unless the individual has a Utah driver's license. Requires a registered voter who has a Utah driver's license, another Utah license, or another Utah license certificate, or a Utah state ID card, primary photo identification to place the last 4 digits of the primary photo ID card number on the returned envelope. You don't have to show ID at the polling place now when you are going to drop your ballot off at the polling place. And this will begin January 1st, 2028. A voter may not vote in person, or return a ballot by AI. I don't know what that word, I was typing so fast last night, so I don't know. If the voter does not have a primary photo ID and the identity of a voter who returns a ballot by mail will be confirmed by signature comparison and the last 4 digits of the voter's primary photo ID number. Elections held on or after January 1st, 2028, a voter will not receive a ballot by mail unless the voter requests to receive a ballot by mail. Also provides that a request to receive a ballot by mail remains in effect for 8 years unless the voter takes certain action that results in termination of the request or in 2028 or later fails to vote in a regular general election. So it's a mess.
And you have to re-up to be on the mail-in, right?
Yep.
So you have to start all over?
There's something about that?
Yeah, if you don't vote in an election, you have
Yes.
to redo it.
You have to redo it.
Yes.
You have to re-say, I want my ballot.
It is such a mess.
And that makes sense, how?
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
It's the legislature. That's not part of
I know.
That's not how they evaluate.
And that's what they want us to be, is confused.
Wow, it's just discouraging.
So Adam has his the Utah housing that the governor would like to,
So we don't have to spend a lot of time on this, but
I looked at it and I'm going,
I was actually hoping it was better than this was. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I looked at it afterwards and went, well, this is not what I thought it was.
Yeah.
So, this is the governor's housing plan,
Right.
phase 1, which I'm not really sure what the plan is at the end of it.
No.
But I
because
was,
his ideas change all the time.
yeah, because my thought was as we approached this, I was like, okay, where does this go for us as a city? And I don't know, Zach and Chad, you guys might have, I know you've been studying it too.
I can chime in just a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm part of the
Come on.
APA, sorry.
Oh, I forgot we're
Please
recording.
synthesize
The silly
this
way.
if you can.
Yeah, the old school, I can't just scream. So I'm on the American Planning Association Utah Chapter Legislative Committee. I'm co-chair with Will Silmacorn, if you know who that is. And we've been going through the state housing plan. This is gonna be like the phase 1. This is just kind of getting us data. And then what happens is that in the interim, they're gonna be crafting the phase 2, which will actually be a unified discussion and an entire state. Like what the state would like all the communities to work towards, instead of just randomly throwing housing bills left and right and making cities go after, moderate income housing plans that affect some urban counties different than they affect rural counties or communities. So this doesn't have a lot of detail or information in it because it's a lot of just summarizing where we are right now.
Stuff that we've read and heard.
Yes.
I mean, I didn't see anything that was particularly interesting or new.
Yeah, and there wouldn't be necessarily.
I had some questions about like deed restricted rentals.
Mhm.
Do we have deed restricted rentals in Murray?
I think no. So no, we don't, that I'm aware of. And that I don't think we're allowed to by state code currently.
Because that's one of their recommendations.
Exactly, yeah.
So that's why I was like, do we have this and how's it gonna influence us?
Yeah, I think it could eventually be something, but I think.
We have one
Chad-
project, I think we have one project out there that was approved when I was here. that's,
Oh, yes, that's that
under the
infill,
affordable-
right? Yeah. the
So we have the
infill.
affordable housing bonus density that you can get. There was one project approved when I was here before.
So there is.
That has, it's just a few units, but they're deed restricted.
Yeah.
For affordability.
Okay.
Yeah, and so yeah, we don't have very many, if at all. Most of it, I mentioned that residential infill subdivision because our code says RM20, but it's always 3 less. So if you get up to, you can get up to that 3 if you do deed restricted affordable housing.
So RM20 allows it.
Any RM zone allows it up to those 3 additional.
So is RM20 the only one that goes below, like does RM15 start below and you get to the 15 with the deed restriction?
Yep, all the RM zones just take the density and subtract 3. So that end
Okay.
number, subtract 3, and that's your base density.
Oh.
Yeah. So 20 is 17, 15 is 12, 10 is 7.
8 is 5. That's not an RM.
No,
Dang,
that's
it's
not
just an
RM. Good try.
So when's the next, did they give us a date in here?
No, they'll be working on it and there'll be workshops and things. There's Laura Hansen, she's the, I don't know what her official title is, but she's over planning for the state and in charge of this. And she's gonna be working throughout the interim to get this all set up for the 2026 legislative session.
There is
where
a
they
date
will
for
come
your
in.
individual input on it, though.
Yes.
It's March 19th.
March
Yeah,
19th.
March
Yes.
Yeah, and yeah, getting
I
that.
don't even know what to say about this. It was so like bare bones. Like I thought, I was like, I'll have some opinions. I don't have anything.
So that's mostly what it is. All the planners that I've been working
want
with,
the
it's largely
council or-
opinions.
I know, I went through it just for you.
I know. I thought it was better than it was.
Okay, well,
Better hopes.
I think we're done. Does the council have any other questions or anything? If not, I adjourn this meeting. Thank you.
I went in there thinking, oh, it's gonna